Hi Stampers, this is Melissa Johnson and you are Stampin' with MJ. I'm here today to show you how to put together a couple of projects. Today is more about the techniques, not the actual stamping. So I've already gone ahead and done all of the stamping on these projects, but I want to show you how to create the background on this card. And then this is a fun fold card. So I will show you how to put that together. And I'll give you some measurements as we go. But let's get started. We're going to start with this card because it needs time to dry. So I think we'll do the background and then move on to the other card for the assembly. All right, let me just get my paper tape down here so it'll stay in place and I know that I'm in the screen here. All right. Hopefully you can see what I've got going on here. All right, I'm going to put this aside for a second. We are going to start out with a block, clear block, and I'm using Stampin' Write markers from Stampin' Up. I'm going to start out with Daffodil Delight, and I'm just going to scribble some color on here, not putting a ton on, and I'm not going to each edge. So I've got, maybe a quarter of an inch to a half an inch on either side. Then I'm going to go with Calypso Coral. And I am going to go into the yellow just a little bit. This is going to create our sky. And then I'm moving on to Cajun Craze. So it's just a little bit darker. I am going to the edges of the block, but not, from side to side here, top to bottom, but not on the sides. Okay, so hopefully you can see that in the screen. It looks a little blotchy. That's okay. Now I'm going to rotate this block around because I'm right-handed, so that makes it easier for me. And I see I didn't get any ink here, so I'm going to go a little bit more on that one. All right, now I'm going to start with the blues, and I'm starting with the lightest color first, which is Balmy Blue. And I'm going to put that under the yellow. Then I'm going to move on to Misty Moonlight. And finally, Night of Navy. If you hear noises in the background, that is my young cat who likes to climb on everything, and he's knocking over my cards right now. All right, so I'm going to do a fine mist of water on this. I have this spray bottle from Spellbinders. I like it because it gives you a really nice even mist of water. So I'm just going to do one mist over it, not a ton of water. Now I think I missed the end though. You don't want this running, and we're also not going to flip it over. What I'm going to do is take thick white cardstock, and I'm going to have this edge hang over just a little bit. So not a lot, and this isn't much bigger than the block. And then I'm going to rub it with my fingers. And then lift straight up. And that's the background you're left with. Isn't that beautiful? So easy to do. I think it gives a really good effect. And then I'm just wiping my block clean. You can wipe it with your chamois or just a paper towel and water. But we're going to set this aside to dry while we do some other things. Okay, so let's move on to this card. I can't remember what this card is called. If I figure that out, I'll put it in the description below the video. But it's fun because this piece pops out. Can you see that when you... Let me go in a little bit so you can see a little better there. But it pops out when you put the card up. So it's kind of like a reverse gatefold card. The gate opening is actually in the back of the card. So let's get started with this one. This is a piece of cardstock that is 4 1/4 by 11, I believe. Yes. And then it is scored at, oh, hang on a second, let me tell you that. It is scored at 2 3/4 from each end. And then there's a score right in the middle, and that would be at 5.5. Okay, so 2 3/4, 5.5, and then 2 3/4 from this end. So this creates the back of the card, your gatefold, but then we are also going to fold this in. Now, I already have one piece decorated. I didn't want you to have to watch all of the decorating, but we are going to adhere another piece here. So I have 2 pieces of this paper. This is the Mint Cute as Can Be Designer Series paper. There's all kinds of cute little bee patterns in there and real pretty colors. I think it's, let's see. It's Old Olive, Petunia Pop, Pool Party, Daffodil Delight, and Bubble Bath in basic black. So I'm using this one that has the bees. So for the front of the card, I'm actually going to use the back side of the paper. And I'm just going to adhere that with some Stampin' Seal, which I think I'm running out on this one. And so it's giving me some issues. So bear with me. All right, so we're going to put this one here. And I'm kind of, you don't want it to touch your fold in the middle. So what I'm doing is you see I folded that end in, and I'm just doing an even border around the top, the bottom, and the right side. That way it gives me that little gap here. Now, we are going to decorate these 2 flaps as well, but first we have to do something with this piece so that we hide the ends. So this piece is 3/4 of an inch by 7.5. It is scored at 1 inch, 3 inches, and 4.5 inch. So 1 inch, 3 inch, 4.5 inch. And then I went ahead and scored an inch from the other end. I would suggest not doing that. Only because it doesn't always line up with your folds when you do it that way. We can make it work, so I'm not worried about it, but I'm going to show you what I mean by that. I've got a piece of tape flying around here. All right, so I'm going to put adhesive on the back side of this. And then I'm going to come over here and put this so it's hanging over the edge, centered top to bottom. And I have my fold here, my score line, and I'm just going to put that on there. Now, we do want to make sure we fold these 2 pieces in so that we have those. They're going to pop out. So I made mountain folds out of those. So all of these are mountain fold, meaning they're all raised, not valleys. Okay. So now I'm going to come over here. I got to put some adhesive on the back side of this one. Just a little bit there. And I'm going to go across. So I just want this to lay flat. And then when I fold the back in, do you see how that's kind of tight? I'm going to kind of force that where I need it to go. So you can take your bone folder. This is why you don't want to fold in one end of this. It'll make it a lot easier if you only do the 1 3 inch and 4.5 inch and then just kind of work it in at the end. Okay, so now this is what the front of our card looks like. See how it's starting to pop out? So now we need to decorate the back side, and that paper is going to hide the ends of that mechanism that we just put on. So now I'm using the other side of that paper. So we have those cute bees. Now the reason I didn't use the bees on the front is because we're going to add this bee to the front, and we want to make sure that that stands out, right? Okay, so let's get these on. These are 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. So 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. And again, I'm just lining this up so that I have an even border on the 3 sides. Let's get this one on. Hope you're all enjoying your Saturday. All right, so now I'm just going to put that one on. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, where do I sign this card? You can put a piece of just basic white cardstock on the inside here, and that can be where you sign your card. So I did do that on my sample. So I have a place to sign over here. If you need more room, put it on both sides, right? Okay, so now let's continue. So we have the basic card is done, right? So now let's work on our focal point. So I have used the dies from this set. This is the Meant to Be set. And here's what that looks like. And the dies that come with this are actually fantastic. You have all these hexagons, and they cut out the inside piece of the hexagon. So that's how I got these. But it also leaves you a frame that you can use on other projects. So I save all of those. And it'll cut out your bee once you get it stamped. And I believe it says Our Hive is what the words say. But very cute. Very cute set. And that goes with that paper. Okay, so I have 3 little flowers that I also cut from this set. And I stamped the flower in the set. So I stamped Cute as Can Be, and then we have our little bee trail. So let's go ahead and layer those 2 pieces. Might be switching to my liquid glue in a second here. Okay. So we're just going to layer that so we have a nice even border. Okay. And then I think before I put the flowers on, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to the card front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue just here in between these 2 score lines. That's the only place we want to adhere our focal point to. So I'm just going to put a little liquid glue there. And then I'm going to lay this flat, and I'm going to center my focal point right on that piece. So I'm centering it side to side, top to bottom. Give it a good press. Now we have our focal point on there. See how it's starting to pop out? Okay. Now, the reason you want to put this on first is when we put our bee on, we got to make sure his wings aren't sticking up or it won't fit in your envelope. So I have the wings and I have my bee. So let's attach those. I'm just going to put 1 dot of glue at the bottom of each of those 3 spots, and then set your bee on there. Give that a good press. Okay. And then you can get your bee on there whatever way it's going to fit, right? So that it's not showing that, or sticking up above your card, sorry. Okay, so now let's take some dimensionals, put that on the back of our bee. And I don't want to go too close to this edge because he does hang off a little bit. So it doesn't take too many. I just did 2. Now the wings are just going to be kind of floating there. But again, so I'm going to kind of angle this one so he doesn't stick up above. That way I know he's going to fit right in the envelope. Okay, so now let's add our flowers. I'm also going to put a dimensional on the back of this larger flower. Okay. I love using this take your pick tool to get the backs off of the dimensionals. It does make it easier. All right, so we've got that. Oh my gosh, sorry. My cat decided to jump across. That was that loud noise and me jumping out of my skin. So I apologize for that. All right. He might end up coming in the screen. Sorry. Oh, you can't always control the animals in the house, right? All right, I'm just going to put a couple of dots of glue on here. I'm going to put my largest flower up here. So I've got it in the upper left corner. And then I'm going to put the next size, because there's 3 different sizes here. And what's nice about this die set is you get 2 of each of these little flower dies. So you can cut several at a time, which is good. All right, and then we got our final little tiny one. I'm going to plop that one right there at the bottom. So kind of making my little triangle, right, with our embellishments. I'm going to call the flowers embellishments, but we're also going to add an embellishment to that. So I've already got my embellishments cut out. And I can't remember what these are from either. So I will put that in the description as well. I'll put everything that I used in the description for you. All right, so I'm going to take this larger one. I'm going to put that on my large flower. Like that. I guess we could move that over a little bit. It looks kind of off-center, doesn't it? I don't know about you, but that will bug me. All right, so we've got that one. And then I have 3 smaller ones. And I'm going to put one in the center of each flower. So I do a stamp camp at my house once a month, and I like to make up the kits for everybody. And that's why these were already cut. All right, so then there's our finished card. Not very hard at all. It's just the cutting, right? And remembering to put this mechanism on before you put your designer series paper on the back. But how cute is that? Fun little card. This could be cute as a baby shower card or just a everyday thinking of you card. I like that a lot. Kind of makes me happy. All right, now let's go back to this one. So this is, yeah, it's pretty dry. Maybe not completely, but it's enough that it'll work. All right, so we have a little stamping to do on this one. Now we're going to stamp from, this is the Sunrise Sailing set, by the way. We're going to stamp this little bird image and the best wishes. And then we'll finish this card up. All right, so I'm just using Memento Black. And I'm going to go kind of into the yellow and the orange. And I'm turning my birds each time, just to make it interesting, right? And then we're going to stamp best wishes down here. So let's do that. And I want to make sure that that's under our background. I didn't go off to the side, but I have it more to the right than I do centered, okay? So that's that. Now, you can use, if you have it, a white gel pen. So I have a Jelly Roll pen, but here's what I prefer. I like to use a Posca pen. This is a paint pen. It stands out. It comes out great every time. You just have to shake it. And I'm going to create little waves here. But see how that's standing out? Don't need a lot. So just a few so that, we get the idea, the illusion of waves. Okay. Then we have a little sailboat. So this set has dies. So you have the boat that you can stamp, which this one will cut out. But you also have a small, medium, and large boat over here, which is great for this one. You have waves, clouds. You can cut out 3 birds at one time. So this is a really nice masculine set. It's always hard to find something for masculine cards. So when I see something like this, I grab it. It's got happy retirement, congratulations, you deserve the best, you're destined for great things, which is what I stamped on the inside for this card. Ahoy. Just a really nice set. All right, so let's keep going with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble the bases of the card. So I have just a basic white card base, and on the inside I stamped the waves and the you're destined for great things. Okay. On the outside, I'm going to do a full 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of Night of Navy. And we're going to attach that. And I'll just use some liquid glue because it's faster. This is the green glue that we carry, but I put it in a glue press from My Sweet Petunia. It makes it really nice to get thin lines of glue. All right, so then I'm actually going to stand this up and kind of slide that in. That gives me a second to get it in place. Okay. Now I have a piece of Balmy blue, and I'm going to center that left to right on that Night of Navy. So again, some glue. So I'm going to turn my card so I can line that up with the bottom. And like I said, I'm centering it left to right, but it will go full length of the card. Okay. Then we're going to attach this piece on there, and we're centering that on the Balmy blue. So again, some glue. Okay. And I'm going to do that the same way. And this edge won't be so pronounced. Okay. So that's our card front. Now all we have left to do is add our little boat. So I wanted my sails to stand out a little bit. So I'm going to take a blending brush. I have some Night of Navy ink on here. Whatever is left on the brush is what I'm using. I haven't re-inked it. And I'm just adding a little bit to the edges because I want it to stand out. I don't care if it kind of goes in a little further. To me, that just adds a little character. You can even kind of do this with it. Get a little bit of more on there. Okay. And then we're going to add that to the actual boat. And I'm going to use mini dimensionals for that. Okay. So I'm going to use one full one here. And then I'm going to snip a piece. Excuse my arm. All right. So I'm just going to snip a piece of this edge. I use every bit of my dimensionals. All right, so here, I'm going to put this on here. Maybe. Nope, it stuck to my finger instead. There we go. I'm just keeping it real, right? These are the things that happen in my craft room, and I'm sure they happen in yours as well. All right, let's take the backs off of those. And then, so this is kind of fragile. It will bend kind of pretty easily where the boat and the mast join. But this lines up right on top of that. So now we have our little boat, but I am going to add a dimensional to this side because we want it to be the same height when we put it on the card. And I'm going to add liquid glue to the boat and the mast. So let's just add a little glue here. See how nice and thin you can get with that glue? I like that. All right, and then I'm just going to plop that down here. And there's the card. Nice masculine card to send out for whatever, right? Any occasion. So I hope you enjoyed both of these cards. Here's a look at both of them again. We've got our pop-out gatefold card and our sunrise sailing card. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments and I will check them and get back to you. I will post the supplies that I used in the description of the video. So if there's anything you need, please shop my online store. Give me the thumbs up and like this video. That would be great. I'm trying to build my channel a little bit, so any little bit helps. All right, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.